Bruchim Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Mem Amud Aleph, 6 lines from the bottom. After the Mishnah had taught us that if a person makes a bracha on a fruit, for example on an apple, Borei Priha Adama, he's Yotze. B'diavad he's Yotze because the essential source of the fruit of the tree is the ground. The Mishnah goes on to say, if a person, however, makes a bracha on a vegetable, Bori Priya 8, he's not Yotza. Ask the Gemara right away, Pshita. That's obvious. What's the Mishnah coming to teach us? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok lo nitzrucha ela l'Rabbi Yehuda. Da marchita min ilonhi. This is only according to Rabbi Yehuda that we need to teach this, because Rabbi Yehuda says that chita is a type of tree. The Tanya, like it says in the following brayso, Ilon she'ocha mimenu Adam Harishon. The fruit that Adam Harishon ate from, which tree, which fruit did he eat from? There's a machlokes tanoim. Rabbi Meir oimer gefen haya. It was a vine. She'ein lecha davar shemevi yelola al ha'adam el yayin. Because there's nothing that brings wailing, crying from a person more than wine. Yayin shenemar vayesht min ha'yayin vayishkar. It says that when it comes to Lot, that he degraded himself when drinking from the wine and got drunk from it. And therefore that which Adam Harishon ate from the vine, causing misa to the world, that caused wailing and great crying to the world as well. So therefore, the tree that Adam Harishon ate from is the vine. Rabbi Nechemya oimer te'ena haisa. It was a fig tree, and he ate from a fig. Shebedova sheniskalkeloi boy niskenu. For the thing that he was miskalkel from, that he was also then fixed up. As the pasuk says, Shenema v'yisperu alei te'ena. When he and Chava recognized that they were arumim, that they were naked, they covered themselves up with the leaves of a fig tree. So therefore, the same thing that there was niskalkil, the fig tree itself was the thing that they were niskan from. And therefore, it's mistaber that it was a fig tree. Rabbi Yehuda oimer chita hayisa. It was a wheat tree. She'ein hatinoik yodea likros abba v'ima ad sheyitom tam dogon. Because a child doesn't have the das to call his parents mommy and tati, abba and ima, mom and dad, until he eats from dogon, which is wheat. This is the essential food of man. And therefore, since it's called the Eitz Hadas, that Adam and Chava were choyte from, therefore it sounds to reason that this is the chita tree that he ate from. Says the Gemara, Salka daita chamino, hoyil v'omer Rabbi Yehuda chita min ilanhi, livorech alea bori priya eitz. I would have thought, therefore, that since the chita, according to Rabbi Yehuda, was a tree, therefore if a person made the bracha on chita bori priya eitz, he's yotza. Kamash malon. Thereby the Mishnah says otherwise. Heicha mevarchinam bori priya eitz, because where do we make a bracha on a fruit from the tree, bori priya eitz? Heicha dishi kishak lislei leperi isa the gavoza v'hoder mapik. That's when, if a person takes the fruit from the branches of the tree, then that branch will still then produce more fruit in the following season. Aval heicha dechi shaklis leleperi leise legavoza, but where he would take the pri, then the branch will not produce another fruit. The hoder mapik loy mevarchinon alei bori priya eitz ela bori priya adama. Then the bracha would be bori priya adama. It wouldn't be considered to be a fruit from the tree. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah, V'al kulam im omar shehakol. That means to say that on all of the things that were mentioned from the beginning of the parak, Peiros ha'aretz and Peiros ha'ilon, all of these things would get the designation b'di'eved, would then be yotze with a bracha of shehakol niya bidvoro, even though the proper bracha for an apple is bari priya eitz, and for a tomato is bari priya adama. But if a person accidentally said shehakol niya bidvoro, either because he wasn't clear on what he was eating, he accidentally came and said a bracha shehakol, or it came out of his mouth shehakol instead of the appropriate bracha bari priya eitz or bari priya adama, for example, then bidi eved his yatsa, says the Mishnah. The Gemara explains, Itma Rav Huna Omar Chutz min hapas umin hayayin. Rav Huna is the opinion that this is not including bread and wine. If a person said shehakol nihya bidvoro on bread, or accidentally said that on wine, he's not yatsa. Rabbi Yochanan Omar afilu pas v'yayin. Even if he were to say shehakol nihya bidvoro as a bracha rishona for pas or for yayin, he would be yotza. Neima kitanoi. Let us say that's a machloikis amongst the tanoim. Ro pas, if a person saw bread, v'omar kama noe pas zu. How pleasant is this bread? Boruch ha-mokom shebara'o. Blessed is the one who created it, yotza. He is yotze b'di eved. Ro te'ena, similarly if he saw a fig, V'omar kama noa te'ena zu, Boruch ha-mokom shebro, yotza, divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir's opinion, if he did say this type of bracha on pas, he will be yotza. Similarly, if he says it on a te'ena. Rabbi Yossi Omer kol ha-mishane mimadbei shetovu chachomim bebrachos lo yotza yidei chavoso. Anytime a person changes the coinage, the phraseology of the bracha, then he's not going to be yotza. Neimo Rav Huna Domar Rabbi Yossi. Let us suggest that Rav Huna, that said that shehakol will not be an appropriate bracha afilu b'di eved for pas or for yayin, says like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yochanan Domar Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Yochanan says that shehakol would suffice b'di'evet for pas and yayin, holds like Rabbi Meir. Omar lach Rav Huna. Rav Huna will say back to you, Ana da amri afilu Rabbi Meir. I can even say like Rabbi Meir, because ad kan lo kol Rabbi Meir hasom ela heche dekal midka shmei de pas. That's because Rabbi Meir says he's talking about when he mentioned pas, bread. Then he's yotza with that bracha. Aval heicha de lo kamidka shmei de pas afilu Rabbi Meir moide. But if he didn't mention bread, then even Rabbi Meir would be moide. That's not a good bracha. And therefore, if he said shehakol niya bidvoro, he would agree that it's not a good bracha to be yotze with. Rabbi Yochanan Omar loch, and Rabbi Yochanan would say, Ano da amri afilu Rabbi Yossi. I can even hold like Rabbi Yossi. Because ad kan lo koma Rabbi Yossi hasom ela mishum de koma bracha de lo takinu rabbanon. Because Rabbi Yossi only said his din that you are mishanim madbeya shetovu chachamim. Because you said a bracha that the chachamim were not misaking. Aval omar shehakol niya bidvoroi de tiknu rabbanon afil Rabbi Yossi moide. But if you said shehakol niya bidvoroi, that is a bracha that the rabbanon were misaking. And therefore, b'di eved, you would be yotze even on bread or on wine. And indeed, the halacha is that if a person said shehakol on even bread or wine, b'di eved, he's yotze. Binyamin Raya, Korach Rifta. Binyamin, the shepherd, Binyamin Raya, he ate bread, v'omar, and he said the following bracha, Achroina, Brich Morei Dahai Pita. Blessed is the master of this bread. Omar Rav Yotza. Rav says he's Yotza with this bracha. V'amar Rav called bracha she'ein bo hazkaras Hashem, ain't a bracha. Any bracha that does not have within it the mentioning of Hashem's name, it's not a good bracha. Do Omar Brich Rachmana Morei Dahai Pita. No, he adds, blessed is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the merciful one, the master of this bread. I asked the Gemara, how can that suffice for bracha, for Birkas HaMazon? V'ho ba'inen sholosh brachos. We need 3 brachos for Birkas HaMazon. Says the Gemara, my yatsa. When he said it's yatsa, what is he referring to? The Ka'am Rav Nami yatsa yedei bracha rishona. He meant to say your yatsa from the first bracha of Hazon with this statement, with this bracha. My Kamash Lamalan asked the Gemara, what is this coming to teach us? Afaga da Amra Beloshin Chol. To teach me that even if he said it in a Loshin Chol, he's yatsa. Asked the Gemara, Tanina. Behold, we already learned Ve'elu ne'morim bekol loshin. The following can be stated in any language, not just Lashon HaKodesh. Parsha Soite, when the Kohen is mashbiya, a woman who is suspected of being mezaneh, he gives a shvuah to the Soita. He's able to do so and mashbiya her in any language, the one that she understands. Vidui Meiser, on the 4th and 7th year, at the end of Pesach, a person makes a declaration and he makes a vidui maisros to show and express that he gave all of his trumas and maisros. That can be done in any language. V'kriya Shema, also in any language. V'tfila, and ubirkas hamazon. So we see that birkas hamazon can be done in any language. Now says the Gemara, Itzrich, I need this. Kasal kedai I might have thought to say, Hani mili the amra beloshen chol ki hechi dakin rabban beloshen kodesh. When can I say these things in a lashon of chol, like birkas hamazon? That's when I'm translating the words from lashon hakodesh. Aval loy amra beloshen chol ki hechi dakin rabban beloshen kodesh emoloi. But to say words that are not translated, but my own way of expressing, in this case, my own blessing in the Birkas Hazon, I would say no, that's not sufficient. Komash Malan, we're coming to learn otherwise that indeed it comes to teach us that it is a good bracha. Gufa, the Gemara brings back the following text that we had before. Omar Rav, Kol bracha she'ein bo hazkaras Hashem, ein a bracha. Any bracha, says Rav, that does not mention Hashem's name in it, is not going to be a good bracha, because the essence of the bracha is blessing, recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem is the source of the bracha. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Kol bracha she'ein ba malchus ein a bracha. Rabbi Yochanan says not only is it necessary to then state Hashem's name, but you also have to mention malchus, and malchus means melech ha'olam, the king of the world, for it to be a satisfactory bracha. Omar Abaye kavasei de Rav mistabro. It's mistaber to say like Rav that you need only to mention Hashem's name in a bracha. The Tanya, for it says in a brayso, lo yavarti mitzvosecha v'lo shochachti. In regards to vidui maisros, it says that I did not transgress from your mitzvahs and I didn't forget. The Gemara makes a drasha, lo avarti. I didn't transgress, referring to milavarechecha, from blessing you. V'lo shochachti, and I didn't forget within that bracha, milahazkir shimcha alav, from mentioning your name in that bracha. V'ilu malchus lo ketani, but it doesn't mention malchus. Rabbi Yochanan tni v'lo shochachti. Rabbi Yochanan would answer for himself, teach v'lo shochachti milahazkir shmecha u'malchusecha alav. When it says lo shochachti, it means both from mentioning your name and your malchus when I mention that bracha. Now we have a new Mishnah. The Mishnah says as follows: V'al davar she'ein giduloi min haaretz, those things that do not grow from the ground. Oimer shehakol neh bidvoro. For example, if a person wants to then partake in fish or in meat or cheese, etc., the bracha would be shehakol neh bidvoroi. Says the Mishnah, al hachoymetz v'al agnoivelois v'al govai oimer shehakol neh bidvoroi. On vinegar, that's of course edible, v'al anoivelois, and that which is things that are growing, fruits that are not ripened, but rather they fall off the tree prematurely, v'al hagovai, and on govai, which is locusts that are kosher, the bracha would be shehakol neh bidvoroi. Rabbi Yehuda argues, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kol shehu min klala ein mevarchin alav. All of these things are min klala, and therefore you don't make a bracha on a klala. On a klala. Chaymetz is wine going bad. Noivlois is prematurely falling off the tree. And govai, locusts, since they come and they eat all the greenery within the whole vicinity, that's considered to be a klala. You don't make a bracha on a klala. The Mishnah concludes, Hayu lefonov minin harbe. If a person has in front of him many different types of minin, let's say different types of fruits, Rabbi Yehuda Omer im yesh beineim min shiva. If amongst those fruits is it the shiva minim, so therefore alov hu mevarich, he makes a bracha on one of the shiva minim, because that's considered more important, since it gives shvach to Eretz Yisrael. You'll make a bracha on what's chaviv to you. If you want to then eat something that is like an apple because you prefer the apple over the dates, then even though you're going to eat both of them, therefore it's chaviv, the apple, you make a bracha bari priya eighth on the apple. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan, bringing a brisa, al davar she'en gidulo min haaretz, on things that do not grow from the ground, kigon basar, behemois, chayos v'oifois, on meat and chicken, v'dogim, fish, oy meshahakol niyeh bidvoroi, ala cholov, v'ala beitzim, v'ala gvina, oy meshahakol. When it comes to milk, eggs, and cheese, the bracha is shahakol. Al hapashe ifsha, on bread that went bad, that became spoiled, v'al yayin shehikrim, or wine that became spoiled. Again, these are things that are still edible and drinkable. V'al tavshil shavar tzurosoy, oimer shahakol. He makes a bracha shahakol on all of these things. Al melach, on salt, v'al zomis, even on brine, he makes shahakol. V'al kamein v'al pitrios, oimer shahakol. And mushrooms, he also makes shahakol. Ask the Gemara, lememra to kamein upitrios lav gidule karka ninhu. These mushrooms, they're not considered to be gidule karka, that you would say only shahakal on them. Vehatanya, behold, it says in the Brisa the following: Hanoi der bi peiros haaretz. Somebody takes a neder from the fruits of the ground. Aser be peiros haaretz umutar be kamein upitrios. The fruits of the ground are going to be aser upon him. However, mushrooms will be permissible. V'im Omar, however, he said in his neder, kol gidule karko alai oser af bekmeim pitrios, then includes even mushrooms. Omar Abaye mirba ravu me'ara. These are things that grow from the ground. Mushrooms grow from the ground. However, minak lo yanki me'ara, but they don't get its nourishment from the ground, because they can even be growing on rocks and on wood. It says these are gdulei aretz. Tni al davish ein yoinek min aretz. You have to teach these are things that don't get nourishment from the ground.